Bring back rock.
Hey everybody, it's Dean. Welcome to Bring Back Rock. Today I'm talking about underrated albums from 1984. Now 1984 was a huge year. It's when hard rock really broke into the mainstream. MTV was in more and more houses, not my house, but the houses they were in. And I had Motley Crue and Twisted Sister all over it. Bands were breaking into radio at that time, crossing over. Like we all know that Jump went to #1 for Van Halen, Round and Round by Rat, We're Not Gonna Take It by Twisted Sister. Just more and more albums and songs were crossing over. I had to learn most of the stuff either from word of mouth or from the rock magazine. So if I missed your favorite from 1984, let me know. And maybe I missed it. Maybe I still don't know about it. So drop them in the comments. Maybe I decided not to put on there. Maybe I just missed it from 1984. But here's a number of my favorites from 1984. But before I jump into that, let me just mention a couple of the big kind of classic albums from 1984. All right, so let's talk about some of the classics from 1984. Autograph Sign In Please had Turn Up the Radio on it, which is just kind of a classic song from that era. But we know Van Halen's 1984 came out in 1984. Rats Out of the Cellar, big album, their biggest album. Stay Hungry by Twisted Sister. It also introduced us to bands like Great White. Their debut came out that year. Stryper released their first EP, Yellow and Black Attack, in 1984. Bon Jovi, they released their debut album with Runaway on it in 1984. Let me think who else. Dokken released Tooth and Nail, not their debut, but the one that really pushed them into the mainstream in 1984. Classic album. One of the strange album, Billy Idol's Rebel Yell came out in 1984. That was part new wave, part punk, part rock, part dance. It was just a really great album, but kind of an eclectic type of album. Whitesnake released Slide It In 1984. Not as big as their next album, but still a classic of the genre. Kiss also released Animalize in 1984. Now this was an album that a friend of mine recorded and gave it to me. I'd kind of fallen away from Kiss. I knew about them when I was younger, like every kid did back then. But Animalize had me re-enlist in the Kiss Army. I really liked Animalize, and it caught my attention again with Heaven's on Fire and that whole album. So some real classics, some real touchstones that you really need to have if you're a fan of this music. Like I said, Tooth and Nail up there, Slide It In, etc. Rat, Twisted Sister, just a bunch of great albums in 1984. Now I'm going to tell you about some of my favorite ones that got released in 1984 that maybe didn't have the success they deserved. Here's kind of my list of underrated albums from 1984. All right, my first underrated album from 1984 is Black and Blue's self-titled debut album. You ask a lot of bands from back in the day, was there a band that you thought was really going to make it that didn't? And Black and Blue comes up quite a bit. Their debut album went to 129 on the Billboard chart, so not very high. It was, however, Rolling Stone did the top 50 hair metal albums of all time, and it came in at number 28, so it gets some respect in retrospect. But back in the day, it just did not break them through. They had the single Hold On to 18 in the video, but they just didn't break through, and that album is amazing. If you don't have that album, if you want to check out Black and Blue, that's a good place to start. Get that one, and the second album, the first album, is produced by Dieter Dierks, who is most famous for working with the Scorpions. They also had a song, Chains Around Heaven, on the Metal Massacre compilation, which I think the third printing it started including Chains Around Heaven. Great band, great album, definitely highly underrated. Check out Black and Blue's self-titled debut. The next one on my list is Lita Ford's Dancing on the Edge, which is my favorite Lita Ford album. There's a couple others that come close, but that's definitely my favorite. I kind of discovered her, I was young, I didn't know about the Runaways, but a friend of mine had recorded a bunch of videos off of MTV, and one of them, I think there's two of them by Lita Ford on there, Gotta Let Go and Dressed to Kill. Anyway, picked up that album. It's amazing. 8 songs, they all kill. Great record. She was actually nominated for a Grammy for this record for Best Female Rock Vocal. Did not win, but she was nominated for it. It's a great album. It did go to number 66 on the chart, so it had some success. It was on Mercury Records, and if you don't have it, check out Dancing on the Edge. Great songs by Lita Ford. Let's see what I got next. My next one on the list is, this was the album that was supposed to break this band huge. It's Hanoi Rocks, Two Steps from the Move. It was their 5th album. It was produced by Bob Ezrin, who did most famous for Kiss and Alice Cooper probably. Really good album. Highly influential band. We all know what happened. Razzle got killed in that accident with Vince Neil. The band kind of disintegrated right when they were kind of poised to take over. It was their first major label album in the U.S., Two Steps from the Move, and it's where I first learned about Hanoi Rocks, and then kind of went back retroactively and learned about the rest of them, got the rest of the albums. But Two Steps from the Move was really great album. Should have been the album that pushed them over the edge, over the top, and fate had other plans. So Hanoi Rocks, Two Steps from the Move. Next one I have that was underrated in 1985 is Lee Aaron's Metal Queen. Really good album. I thought the songwriting and playing was much better than on the debut, which was still pretty good. They had a video, which now looks kind of cheesy, but a video for the title track, Metal Queen, which did get some airplay and found some fans, but not a ton of people know about her, or they do now, but it just didn't have the success that I thought it deserved. Had some success in Canada, but not as much here in the States. But good place to start if you like Lee Aaron. Metal Queen is another underrated album from 1984. My next one is a band that I also think should have been much, much bigger than they were. And their first album came out in 1984, in November of 1984, as a matter of fact. It was called Lay Down the Law. It was by the band Keel. It came out on Shrapnel Records. 2.5 months later or so, their debut album on a major label came out, The Right to Rock. So it was between this one and that one, literally 2.5 months or so between releases. 3 of the songs were re-recorded for The Right to Rock. Let's Spend the Night Together, Speed Demon, and Tonight You're Mine, which they changed to You're the Victim, I'm the Crime. Really good album, great debut from Keel. They changed drummers in the meantime, which is a whole nother story. You can watch my Keel video for information on that. But Lay Down the Law by Keel, really good debut on Shrapnel Records, came out in 1984. Another band that had a lot of buzz coming out of LA was Armored Saint. Their debut, March of the Saint, came out. It went to 138 on the Billboard charts. The band was not real happy with the production on this album. It was a little more polished and made it more pop. They wanted a more metal sound. They are a heavy metal band. They had, like I said, a lot of heat coming off of them as they came out of LA. But March of the Saint, they just didn't break through like they should have. Can You Deliver was a minor hit on MTV, but 138 was the most they could muster on the charts. And if you want to go back and listen to them, great album. I saw them for the first time just recently when they opened for Wasp on that tour about 2 years ago. So I had not seen them live before that, and they did a great job. So March of the Saint by Armored Saint. So those are my underrated albums from 1984. There's 2 more albums I wanted to mention. Giuffria, the debut album from Giuffria, led by Greg Giuffria from Angel. That album went to number 26, and the single Call to the Heart went to number 15 on the pop charts, which actually surprised me. So they had more success with that album than I really thought they did. And then another one, I have a friend on this channel who's a big Crocus fan. We were just talking about it a couple weekends ago. And The Blitz came out in 1984, which went gold for Crocus. So 1984 was just a big, good year. Great hard rock. Broke into the mainstream. Absolutely love it. Tell me which ones I've missed. Tell me which ones came out in 1984 that you love. And thank you very much for watching. I'll catch up with you on the next episode.